right, just say your name.
Aaron Meza. Oh, like say it for like on the camera or just for sound check? I'm Aaron Meza.
Also, I'm not good at interviewing.
That's fine. That's fine. Editing makes anybody a good interviewer, right?
Yeah.
Jeez. Is this yours?
Yeah.
This one's clean. I never had this camera. This was for like the real, this is for Mike Tarnowski, Dan Sturt, and those kind of guys. Dan Wolf. I never had this. I used it. Man, I want to say Brian Young might have had this camera, and I had borrowed it. And this camera actually has a record delay that I wasn't used to, and I was trying to film a trick at Drake Jones, like a kickflip backside tail slide in Embarcadero. And I was like watching it back, and I was clipping it. Because back then you would just in general start and stop pretty quickly because you're trying to save tape. But this is really bad. It was like halfway through. I was like, fuck, man, I'm gonna ruin this clip. You know, I was never a crazy camera nerd, but I mean, I definitely would have liked to have it. I think the first camera I was like really impressed with was it wasn't the VX1000, but it was the height version of the VX1000.
Yeah.
It had the handle. It was like really big, but I saw like Dave Schlossbach on Embarcadero with that.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I think it was just because of the color, it was like kind of like silverish looking. I was just like, damn, that's like a really pro looking camera. Like it just must, I didn't even see what it looked like, the footage, but I was like, man, it must be like amazing. Back then, like our biggest benchmark in like early 90s was Plan B. So you just figured whatever they had was like the best camera. They must have the best camera equipment. You're not gonna like do any research, you're just gonna see what they have. And I didn't really know those guys back then, so I didn't really like ask them or anything. But yeah, this is cool. Like this is, how much did you pay for this?
$25.
You gotta be kidding. Does it work? There's no battery, right? Oh, you guys, the deck, pretty rad. Look at the zoom right here, like kind of heavy. It's like heavier than I remember it to be. I filmed quite a few things, like I think even all the way up to FTC video, the second one, like with like an 8 camera, not even high 8. Definitely like some world footage is not even high 8, it's just video 8. Right around the time I started filming with James Kelch and Jake Vogel, like they were kind of like my entree into filming all those guys. I started filming with Shelby Woods too. He skated for New School and he needed a video part like, I feel like in a couple of weeks or something, and we probably went out like 2 or 3 days and filmed, I don't know, maybe like a 45-second to a minute video part. Yeah, and that was the first thing that came out.
That's him right there.
Yeah, no, I know Jake is. Jake Vogel there's the Embarcadero, like kind of like the limelight years, but it had been going on as a scene way before that. And I feel like Jake and James and Shelby and Scott Thompson, this guy Thorne, they were like the early, even when I was a kid going there like in junior high, like I would see those guys even back then. You know, you'd see Mike and Henry and those guys there like later on too, but they were there like skating it every day back then. And this is probably like 86, 87. He would do like half cab board slide fakie on ledges, like, and kids are just trying to like axle stall on them, you know? I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain like a half cab board slide a fake on a ledge, but that was like a hard flip frontside nose slide or something, you know? So yeah, this is the first slap. There was like a lot of anticipation for the first slap, because it was like poised to be like the magazine for kind of like guys our age who are into the kind of skating we were into. It was kind of like the answer to like kind of like street skating and hip hop in skateboarding, where Thrasher was, you know, we all love Thrasher, but I think they felt through Lance Dawes they can make something more like young and like spoke to like the Embarcadero crowd, I guess. That's why there's like probably like an Embarcadero article in here, you know. We were kind of shocked that it was like this newspaper kind of print. We're like, oh, I thought it was gonna be like a little, you know, Thrasher already was like in color and stuff, but it was cool. Like there was like, you know, I felt it was like thought out pretty well to have like Mike on the cover of this Embarcadero article. I don't know, I always heard it was like skaters looking at photos. Lance, especially back then, was like so kind of like romantic about things, and he was just always kind of thinking of stuff like that. Like he like wrote graffiti, like he might have tagged like noir or something. He was just kind of like had that kind of artistic edge to him. He went to college, so you know, it was cut and paste. I'd go to the office, they were like cut and pasting the layouts. It was pretty raw. This is, I think, Lance's car. That he bought from Fausto. Yeah, I mean, it was cool. It was definitely cool. I remember feeling like it was thinner and like the paper quality was like less than we thought it would be, but yeah, some of these quarter page ads, man, it's crazy. I remember these ventures came out. We saw, I think the photo might have came out before anybody wrote them, and we were like, damn, that looks ugly. Like, you know, it looks so weird and polished, but like when the trucks came out, everybody did kind of ride them. I think Greg, he felt like kind of weird, like, cause he was like new to San Francisco, and he kind of felt weird about like being in the article, you know what I mean? Greg ripped back then. He was like a really technical skater, doing some of the first kickflip no slides and stuff like. You know what's funny? Like early on, like we really tripped out on it. I think TransWorld had a message board. Like this, like whenever those colored iMacs came out, I want to say it's like 98 or 99. I think Chico got one, and we somehow discovered the TransWorld message boards, and dude, it blew our minds. Chico, Mike Carroll, and Tony Ferguson lived together, and we were just like, man, like look at what these kids are saying. Like this is fucking crazy. In the early days, when I went back to Girl after Skateboarder, I would go there to the message boards mostly when I put out a video, because it was kind of like the only place to get feedback. We weren't putting stuff on, it probably predated YouTube, and our videos weren't on YouTube yet, so you couldn't get any kind of feedback. So I would just go and look at like, oh, do they like the video or not? You know? No, I wouldn't post it. I would just go and see if somebody made a thread about it. I don't think they would even post the video. I think they would just talk about it. It was like a way to see comments, you know?
Like
I never had like an account or never posted or anything. Oh yes. Lovechild. I really like this video. This is the first video I felt like I had like a decent amount of footage and like I really contributed to, and it was a good video. Mainly like through Chico. Chico was like how I got to know like a lot of the world guys. Shiloh and Jed came up a little bit. I filmed with Spencer a lot. Let's see who else. Javante. That's how I got to know Javante, and it was cool. Like Javante would like he would want to just go by himself. Like even at that age, we were probably fucking 19. He was just like, let me just film and I'm out. I got shit to do. Like I got girls to hang out with. I got like parties to go to. I got to go work on some car I just bought. He was already like living that life, and we were just like, like we want to skate every day. Like what are you talking about? Like why don't you skate every day? I've been going through some of my old tapes a little bit, particularly of this kind of era. His part, it really is like comprised of like just maybe 4 or 5 days. I mean, definitely we went out some days and didn't get anything, but like I didn't realize how much of that, you know, be like 3 lines and 2 single tricks in one day. Rarely happens now, you know. Somebody gets a trick now, they're like, woo, like I'm good for the week. I didn't meet Day One, and they kept talking about Day. I didn't even know who he was. They're like, Day One's have the last part. I was like, who's Day One? Like Javante's not gonna have the last part? Are you kidding me? And I think I met Daniel. I think Daniel came up during this time. I filmed with Chris Brownow once for FTC though. It was pretty weird. His dad was there. It was all through his dad. He was super young. He was like, 11 maybe or 12. Kent from FTC was like, could you call Chris's dad? I think his dad's name was Ned. Call Ned. They'll come out from Turlock, which is kind of like in this outside of the Bay Area in the sticks. They just met me at Embarcadero super early, and they were like in and out. He filmed for like 15 minutes, and didn't get anything super great. And yeah, they wanted to go like buy fireworks in Chinatown or something. And I was just like, all right. It was kind of a little bit awkward, you know, because I was so used to like filming in such a like organic way. Like you just go somewhere and somebody's doing a trick and we'll film. You know what I mean? Yeah, I was stoked on this. Maybe around $1,000 overall. They had this weird system where you got $10 an hour for filming, which I was like, damn, that's amazing. I still had a job and I was going to college at that time. I was just so bad at the invoicing. I didn't know what the hour comprised of. It's like when I should have, like the second I leave my house, like I'm on the clock. But we went and ate first. Like I don't think I should charge for that. So I just kind of arbitrarily come up with numbers that sounded right. Like, yeah, I did 20 hours. They sent me a check for $200. I was like 19. I didn't know what I was doing. I would talk to Rodney. I would talk to their accountant sometimes, this guy Michael. I think I would deal with him for the checks. I definitely talked to Rodney at first, like Chico was like, Rodney's on the phone, he wants to talk to you because they need somebody to film up here.
Did you trip out a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was kind of a little after the PAL heyday already, obviously, but it was still like, that's Rodney Mullen. I think Chico's last trick, he does like a crooked grind to 180 nose grind on the kind of main ledge on Embarcadero, and he did that first try. Like he was like, hey, and I think it's his last trick. He's like, I got a trick, and he did it first try, and he was like so blown away. He's like, I never do anything first. He was like so happy, like and relieved. Like it was pretty rad. I really like Javante's stuff. I thought Jed's stuff was really good. Had some power at the time that people didn't have. He wore those loud shoes. Would look terrible on everybody else, but he could pull it off. I like the circle benches, the 180 nose manual. It was like kind of the opposite of what Jason Lee did at Backspin Nose Manual. Javante, I would like, you know, we would ride around together and I would be like, why did you quit blind? Like, you could have been in video days. Like, what the, like, how would you do that? He was like, oh man, I didn't get along with Mark that time. I didn't really get along with Mark then. I was just like, man, it just seemed like such a lost opportunity. And it really was like an insight into like how like Javante's brain is just like firing so fast. And like, you just see how like erratic his behavior is in a cool way. Shiloh had really good stuff too. Like Shiloh's rail tricks were like, super ahead of his time. Yeah, Spencer had those last two. I didn't film that, but Spencer had some of those last two tricks that were like kickflip no slide and the back tail pop over. Those were like pretty like innovative, yeah, tricks at that time for sure. I'm gonna drink some more water. Tim and Henry's. Pretty sure it was Felix in an interview said like every single trick in this video is pretty much an NBD. That's pretty gnarly, especially Henry's part, obviously. It was later in like a TransWorld video, sight unseen, I think they showed it in there. Right. It was a Thrasher sequence because it was after this. This was the era of like Mike and Henry are doing something new like every day. They just had like a good brain for like combinations. Like Mike was more like coming up with cool lines kind of, and Henry was just like skating faster than anybody and doing tricks nobody had thought of. At a time where skating was very technical and slow, but he was like, you know, skating really fast and grinding, trying to grind as far as he could. And like I said, I've been like looking through old tapes, and like one of the main things I noticed is actually how dry those ledges are. You hear the raw audio for the skating. It's like almost makes you like, God damn, like people didn't wax stuff so much back then. Those ledges got like naturally slick from just people grinding them and sliding them. Maybe a little bit of wax, but people didn't really like waxing stuff too much. I mean, you would hear them tail slide, and it would just be like, it barely goes. It's like all on their speed, and you can like hear like the paint and veneer like rubbing off. Like it's just like just dry, like almost like nails like on a chalkboard or something. But that being said, like Henry was just charging. Like some of my favorite, like that backside nose blunt slide blind ad to Fakie on that corner that Tobin shot, that shit was like incredible. Me and my friends were like obsessed with Henry during the reel. Like when reel was just starting, like ads were just coming out, we were like Sanchez fanatics, like me and my friends in South City. And he like actually went to my high school for like a little bit. I had an art class with him, but I never talked, we didn't talk or anything. We were probably the only two skaters at school. He was super quiet. He's kind of like standoffish a little bit, you know what I mean? If you didn't know him, especially back then, you know? I mean, we were kids, he's like 16 years old. He was like a kid with his head down at his desk. He dropped out of school probably that year. That year his Thrasher came out, doing the Embarcadero, doing the nose bonk on the ledge. And I brought it to my art teacher. I was like, that was the kid that was sitting right there. And he was like, I'm glad he's good at skateboarding because he wasn't very into school. I was like, yeah, he's actually pretty good. I like some of the stuff that Jake Rosenberg filmed. Like it's a lot of this stuff in the very beginning of the part where it's just skate audio, there's no song. I always liked he does like, I think a switch nose slide, then brings it up to a 5-0 grind to back 70 out. Always like that. And then that line, I loved the way he would like skate it, like where he'd come around that can and hit the bottom of the C block. There was one line, he did like a switch nose slide or switch crooked grind and came around, did a, I want to say fakie nose grind to forward, and then did a kickflip nose slide. Like he after he did the first ledge trick, the second tricks were first try. Even the kickflip nose slide, which I don't think anybody had ever done that yet. You know, Graycon did it front side, but I think he was the first one to do it backside, as far as I knew. One of the first days I filmed him, he just got on blind. I was at Embarcadero, he filmed a couple of tricks, but he tried, this is probably like 90, this must be 92. He almost switch flipped the 7. He like landed on it and kind of like fell on his side with his hand underneath him, like ended up like breaking his hand, or breaking a finger or something. But he like caught it and like fully landed on it at the time. Like only a handful of, it's probably been kick flipped, backside flipped at that time, but like not a lot had gone down on that at all. And just, I mean, I think switch was like switch back 780, Danny Sargent, and then switch 180 Mark, but it was like super gnarly. Nowadays, that person would just go back and do it, but I don't know, like he never tried it again. They were kind of like on to the next thing, yeah. I heard he picked the song. I wasn't involved in any of the editing for these videos, but I heard he picked the song, which was at the time was like pretty like outrageous to pick like a deep like Black Sabbath cut that starts like halfway through the song. It just kind of spoke to who Henry was, kind of like his own person, and like wasn't gonna just pick the hottest hip hop track like Tim did. I liked heavy metal and rock at the time too, so it didn't, like, for me it's fine, but like some people were, at that point, were strictly hip hop. Yeah, I thought it was cool. I thought it was rad. It stands the test of time for sure. The intro was cool, yeah. I don't know if I knew, like, things were just coming out. Like, I don't even know if I knew this. I was just filming Henry. I didn't know it was going to be this video necessarily. You're just going, you know? There's no, like, master plan with due dates. Like, even Lovechild, like, when Chico called me, like, I didn't know it was about to be out. He was just like, yeah, it's already done. I got it. I was just like, damn, that was quick. The intro was good. I mean, at those times, those montages and intros, because it was the Plan B blind section is, like, probably the best part of virtual reality, you know what I mean? When they boil it down, it's always going to be, like, super good. Guy's tricks were fucking insane. Like, that's how it was. Like, Guy back then, like, he'd give you 3 tricks and that's it. And there would be like the gnarliest things you've ever seen by far, and like, he's cool for 2 more years. Like, so virtual reality. I only filmed 1 trick of virtual reality. Mike did an ollie down a triple set in North Beach. Nick Trichet, I think, ollied before him. Only 1 trick. Mike, I feel like they traveled a little bit more for this video. Like, went to DC. I don't know. You know what's funny is there's a lot, like, in the credits, I'm filming Mike do a line on Embarcadero, and Jake's filming me film Mike long lens.
With the front side flip up.
And this is around, we were filming for FTC, like, at the time, which people, like, didn't have a lot of faith was gonna ever come out. But this was, like, obviously the priority for these guys. When it started, like, happening, like, he started figuring out the line, Jake was there, and he was like, hey, dude, I think I should film this for Plan B. You know, I totally got it, you know what I mean? I wasn't, like, bummed or anything. Jake went in, I think it's frontside flip, switch, frontside flip, and then ollie up, no slide.
Pressure by the cops and neglected by my peers. Now I gotta go on all I know. Fuck it, I'ma call a hoe. You're gonna lose.
Yeah, the blind section was good. I definitely like this video. I think I like virtual reality questionable was like so new and impactful that I feel like that kind of registered with me a little bit more. This was definitely good. I mean, their videos were so beyond what other skaters were doing, and even the production level at the time. It was like our closest thing to like a kind of a high production level. It was just filmed pretty well, basically. Good music. You know, it's weird, like Questionable came out, and then like Lovechild would come out, and in Questionable you'd have like Duffy doing like a 180 nose right now in Hubba, and like in Lovechild it's like Chico's nose sliding Hubba. Like, you just kind of like, those guys are just like the champs, like don't even try to, like, you could still do shit. That's Duffy, like he's too above, like doesn't even count. Like Plan B sucks t-shirt though, remember they had those? It was like the one time in my life where I was really trying to get all the hot world shirts, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like there was the whipped shirt, I was like super hyped on that. I had the failure shirt. Like Chico would just give me like, I got one of the fucked up stencil shirts, I don't know if you remember those, like all the seconds they'd have the fucked up thing. I had the I Love Slayer shirt. I would make it a point to get like the hot ones. That was Drawers. I got that shirt, actually, which actually makes you look like a raver more than anything. I didn't. I wish I did. I wish I did. I have a couple things at my parents' house, like in a closet. I think I've sent it to Carl a couple times. There's like a Think shirt with Carl Watson on it, and he's like pointing a gun. And I had that long sleeve. Every time I go there, like I text him, like, I got your shirt. He's like, yeah, you sent it to me like last time you were there. I have some older 80s stuff too. I don't have any old boards. I think the oldest board I have is a Gino. I went to Dwindle when I was working at Skateboarder. I can't remember why I went there, but can you remember the 101 series where they all had their own Nodus ripoff? They were using those as shelving. They were screwed into the board shelves, and the new boards sat on top of them. And this is like 2003 probably. I'm like, dude, the value is here. It's not like the 10 board stack, the deck of boards on top of it. I had like the team manager, I was like, hey, could you like unscrew this? Could I have this Gino board? And he like gave it to me. So that's like the only board I have of that era, I think. I have a bunch of like early crooked board, like early 2000s. The Dogtown video came out, and that's when like board collecting went nuts for like that era of skating. And I thought like, man, like maybe some of these boards will be valuable. So like crooked, for some reason I have a ton of crooked boards. I have some like cool Antihero boards actually. I have like a Gabe Morford guest model, some stuff like that. Some chomp on this boards.
Those are cool.
Yeah, not too much though. A bunch of weird boards, like, because I was the editor of Skateboarder, so like sometimes you just get like, I have like a signed Darrell Stanton's first board, like stuff like that, like, which is actually a cool board. It has like spinning wheels on it. For a lot of years I had these shoe boxes that I would just throw random. People would send me photos or something, like Brad Stavo would send me, Dill would send me a postcard. It has like a lot of stuff like that in it, these shoe boxes. I think some early, like the DC tour itinerary. Did I send you this, a script? Yeah, it has, during the chocolate tour, should I tell that story? During the chocolate tour, they decided to have this scripted segments for the video. And they had this the whole storyline of these guys are con artists. And we had these kind of meetings at Spike's office and stuff. It was really intoxicating to be in that environment at the time. They had all these stories figured out, and I was like kind of tasked with like actually writing out the script, like turning these stories into like script form. I was in college, I was going to film school, so I was like, yeah, I can do it. So just like at home on my parents' like word processor, like writing it all out. And I remember I gave it to Spike. He's like, whoa, like you really, it was like in script format. He was like, wow, I really like it. Yeah. It's funny, I just found that actually. The whole Gino Skate Skate Part thing, I always, in my mind, that was always ad-libbed. I would have sworn up and down, like, no, that they just came up with that on the spot, it was something stupid. It was in the script that I wrote. That doesn't mean I necessarily came up with it, but it was like written down, and it was written for York to say. And I remember Gino and like Keenan were like reading it, like making fun of it, kind of like, oh, a dope hotel or whatever, like how people do when they read a script. They feel like kind of self-conscious about reading it themselves. You know, I'm just like, ah, fuck.
Check it out, Gino Skate Park.
Gino Skate Park?
Nah, Gino Skate Park.
I remember this board, yeah. It's funny then, like how Sean and these guys were into fashion, but like being into fashion back then, like this was like high-end fashion. Going to the Gap was like a thing. We're going to the Gap. We're not even going to Banana Republic. Like Rocco's taking us to the Gap, you know, like shit like that. Like we would buy like little like pullover jackets all the time. Like if you see photos from like the early mid 90s, you'll see like tons of Gap, like two-tone pullovers and stuff like that, yeah. So this like Sean and Javante were like maybe, this was like a little higher end. They probably had like one piece of like polo or, you know, or Tommy Hilfiger, but like it was just to let people know, you know, they knew what was up. I definitely met Sean like early Plan B around Embarcadero, yeah. He was cool, man. He was like super gentle back then. You know, this like kind of gentle giant kind of vibe, very calm. And he would just kind of be on his own mission. He would stay at Mike's house a lot. And sometimes he, you know, he would skate down to the BART train from Daly City and just kind of be on his own mission and just, yeah, rip. So powerful, you know what I mean? Like I think in the first FTC video, he almost switched 360 flips, the big three, like breaks his board. To see somebody skate like in person, like Sheffy is like incredible. Even like way later into like the 90s, he'd be at a contest, but he would skate the course like it was he was there like at a skate park basically. He wouldn't adhere to like it's his heat. He'd be like, Sean, it's not your heat yet. Sean, could you get off the course? Skating during people's runs and like doing sick shit. I don't know, like special and like spontaneous and so much power and like, but like smooth, kind of smooth too, you know what I mean? Like he wasn't just like a big Hulk on a board. Had like a good touch. Yeah, I did. There were times where like, yeah, he could get like a little scary, like, but you know, for a lot of years, it was that thing where like, you know, this is a time in skateboarding where some guys are 23 and some guys are 17. It's like, we got Sean with us, like York and those guys can do whatever they want because Sean's here and he'll fucking kill anybody who fucks with us. Like it felt like that, like you're like, Sean's with us. Like they would go to Vancouver every year for Slam City Jam and like, I went a few years, but you would just hear stories of like, dude, Sean tossed the dude by his hair, picked him up by his hair and threw him like across the street. It was just like an era where like he was, I don't think he was looking for fights, but he would whoop someone's ass if it came down to it. And, you know, same with Kelch, like you kind of like, Kelch or Sean are up front, everybody kind of falls behind and you just feel like, and then I remember we heard like he lost a fight at one point. We were like, fuck, he lost it. Like we couldn't believe he lost the fight. I always thought it's so him to pick like a girl, to pick something like self-effacing, you know what I mean? No, I think Mike plays up all this foreshadowing stuff. Like I know girl, like that girl tour for sure was planned out. The early tour with all the girl riders, but it was a World 101 Plan B tour. That for sure was like planned out. I don't know if that blind section, like there's a theory that was like a way to wash out all that footage because they know they're gonna quit already. I don't know. I know Mike, like looking back, you can tell Mike was more stressed out and unhappy during virtual reality. I think his part's like a little shorter. I feel like he was just feeling some kind of pressure. You know, I never knew Tarnowski really, and I'm sure he was like a little heavy-handed with his like methods, which worked really well for a lot of people. But Mike also has like his own set of pressure that he applies to himself. So being 17, whatever, it's just a mix of all that stuff. The sport was cool.
Yeah.
I liked it. Yeah, for sure. I think Rick had Han Solo. Sheffy must be Chewbacca, right? Who's Danny? Luke? Darth Vader? Colin wasn't pro yet? Yeah, I definitely remember this. This felt a little bit like Plan B is the top company. They pick the top movie, like, you know what I mean? Like they can pull that off. Definitely like Plan B graphics weren't as fun as like World and Blank graphics or 101 graphics though.
Yeah,
they're like a little bit more serious. Yeah, they would make fun of like, yeah. I remember the first Plan B series being like a little underwhelmed by the I think Mike's was like the kid of the Christmas tree, like the Howard the Duck for Rick. I remember someone like pointed out like the eye on the scope is shut and the other eye is open. Like he's looking through the scope with the shut eye. But you know, at that time, I hadn't really developed a uber critical sensibility yet, you know what I mean? That was gonna come shortly thereafter. Favorite world graph? I mean, for me, like I'd probably like the older world stuff, you know, like the Ron Chapman boards, that kind of era of world. I'm really like a child of like the 80s more than the 90s. John Gibson Zorlak is the best graphic ever, just for the record. If you really want to talk about that stuff. Pusshead, that's a real artist. But favorite world board, you know, I don't know if it's a favorite, but for some reason dudes would lock into the Jordan How to Put on a Condom board. Everybody on Embarcadero rode that for like, everybody was affiliated with World at that time, whether they rode for World or not, they all rode that. I think Mike has some footage and questionable a lot with that Jordan board. That board, it must have been the shape. Everybody rode that one. Frustrating, but I really like them also. Yes. Goldfish. Like this day in particular was like a super rad day for me. It's the first day I met Spike and saw them like filming the skit.
Right.
He shot this on like just a point and shoot Yashica 35 millimeter.
Yeah.
And to see like, you don't need like an elaborate camera to shoot like a cover of a video. Not that we didn't know this was gonna be the cover obviously, but I hadn't been to LA a lot at that time. The fact that Spike was making music videos and Girl was gonna make a video that incorporated all this other like film stuff, it was very like exciting for me as somebody who's like into filmmaking. It kind of coincided with it, like me getting into like Martin Scorsese and like Woody Allen, you know what I mean? So it kind of like all coalesced. Those kind of parts of the video were like very attractive to me as like a young person, you know what I mean? To be around that kind of stuff. Because you gotta think at the time, like just having a video camera is like kind of hard to come by. To shoot something on film, which I didn't shoot any of the film, but to be around it was just like so exotic. It seemed like such another level of filmmaking for me at the time. I would be more excited than filming like a trick than when Wing and Eric, who also worked on this video, when they were around, or Spike, and we were shooting around the shooting of the skits, like I was like really into that. Yeah, it was cool. And I mean, this video was good. I feel like Eric had a really great part. There's like great skating, but it was like a different, like skating had, like outside of moving away from Plan B, like skating was also trying to like tone down the progression in a way and make it a little bit more stylish. And that kind of is going on here. So you're kind of getting used to these guys on a new team, but also it's not going to be as progressive as the Plan B videos. It's definitely not. Like Eric is, but like, and there's like I said, like really good skating, but I always wondered if like people thought it was gonna be like a third Plan B video in a way, like as far as the parts, you know? And they did it fairly quickly, and in the beginning, like they had these kind of lofty ideas that they weren't even gonna film videos for a while, or maybe ever. Like that obviously changed. They wanted to take the pressure off, like immediately. Everybody got paid the same. They didn't want any of that like playing skaters off of each other to like encourage them to try harder tricks. So I feel like it's reflected in the footage. Everybody hanging out, like there's like how many background props are in this video? It's like ridiculous, you know? Where at the time you might be like, hey, like could you scoot over? Now it's like dudes are skating into the camera, like, hey. Soundtrack was cool. I mean, some of the stuff I remember, like, this is the day like Tony Ferguson's like, I want this Guru track. but I only have it on a fucking dub tape. It's not out yet. It's 4 generations deep, and it's gonna hiss the entire time, but that's what I want. And they would like let them use this straight up off a tape.
Yo, I'm only 15, but I be rolling like a battle cat. And yo, I'm ready to...
Rick is like editing these videos for the most part with like probably Wing and Eric. It's like them learning how to make videos. I like Rick's song a lot.
Yeah.
Sam, was it Sam Cook? Oh, just read it. Mike picked De La Soul, which I was like, dude, we just used De La Soul for FTC. I was kind of like, that's kind of weird. This is kind of before they discovered their like funky soul side, right? Yeah. Is this the front or is this the front? No, I knew Kent knew Dell, and he was like, Dell's doing the artwork.
Yeah.
Which, you know, at the time I liked Dell, so I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, you know Dell? Like, fuck. You know? This is also a time where like I'm very particular about how things are filmed a little bit and how and the song choices. But when it comes to like the box, it's like not even on my radar. Like, yeah, do whatever you want for the box. I don't care. Like, I just want the video to look cool. Like, it's kind of weird. Like, I didn't have a whole like 360 view of like having Dell do the artwork. Even like the titles, like someone else picked the font that we were with. I was like, yeah, whatever. Like, pick whatever. Like, I don't know. Like, yeah, it's so bad, man. It's some of this stuff is so fucking horrible. That's like filmed around my house. I don't know how I came up with this idea. I was like, I'll just film a texture, but I don't even take off the fisheye lens to film a texture. That fisheye lens never came off. So even when I'm filming a texture, the fucking fisheye lens is on. And I don't know how I thought in a still of a texture would work, but it's so amateurish, like it's fucking gnarly. Yeah, I like this song. Like that, at that point, I'm definitely like been sitting on songs. Yeah, Girl just started like prior to this. We were supposed to get more like Mike's leftover virtual reality footage. Tenacity was like, nah. I like Mike's part a lot. You know, as long as I've been filming, like it's one of the few like main parts where I filmed every single thing in it. Like even, you know, I think Scott's part, probably quite a bit of this, but like Jerron's part is like almost all Socrates. Like if it wasn't for Sock, like this video would have been made because we didn't have quite enough footage, and him letting us have some like leftover world footage like really like took it from 10 minutes to like 14 minutes. I was like happy to just have a video come out. There's no way to get your stuff seen. You know, there's no internet, there's no anything, so you had to like convince somebody to make a video. And now in hindsight, I feel very like fortunate that Kent like trusted me to make it. He wasn't like, it's gotta be this way. He was just like, whatever you want to do, you know? I'll sign it. Should I sign the back?
I want it on the front.
On the front. I'll make the answer shorter too, so we can get to
great, man.
Don't make it 2 hours long, please. How's that sepia on there? That was my idea. A deep, rich sepia tone with orange fucking type. How's that for art direction? And I remember this, like, admittedly, even at the time, this was a ploy to get people to buy the video, to list all these names. When like there's only video parts like up to here. Everything else is like 1 or 2 tricks. Shamelessly like, fuck it, this is how you do it. This is how we're gonna sell more copies. Throw in every single name. And look at the very last name, Nick Terche. This is Penal Code 100A FTC Video 2. That title came very last minute. We were editing the video. I actually went to Girl to edit the video. Could not think of a name. This guy, Johannes, did the edit with me. He worked at Girl. We were just say stupid shit to each other just to make each other laugh more than anything, but I don't know how. I feel like I even called like some municipality in San Francisco to try to figure out what, like, supposedly that really is the I don't think it is, but like I tried to, like, that was my research, like make one phone call. Yeah, that's Scott. I had this idea. It's like a hill in Potrero Hill. I think Lance Dawes shot it for us. Justin Gerard might have laid this out. Like most all of my ideas back then, especially, it was I based it off of something else I saw on some other video, like a movie or something. I was like lifting heavily from the movies I was watching at the time. A lot of people ask me about the music for sure. The intro is a song, that's one thing I was like wanting to do. I'm like still like really like bummed that like whatever camera I was using, like I even did a reshoot for that intro because all the footage was coming out soft. Rented the same camera. I should have obviously picked a different camera to rent. And even tape measured my distance, you know, like you're supposed to do. Like they teach you in film school. You can measure from the film plane to the subject. I didn't get the transfer until I was at Carroll. It was so last minute, I had the transfer, Super 8 transfer sent to Carroll. And again, it was like soft. I was fucking so bummed, but I was just like, nobody brings that up. I can't believe no one's like, dude, the whole intro's fucking out of focus. It's out of focus. It's not the blow up. And maybe maybe it is the fucking transfer. I must have looked, I had a Super 8 projector at the time. I must have looked at it, but I was like pretty bummed on that. That song is, I just knew, like, I don't know, at the time, I guess I was just trying to get some like emotional response from people. So I picked that song. That song was in New York Stories, where it's like Scorsese, Woody Allen, I don't know, maybe Brian De Palma. It's like a feature film that has 3 shorts in it. Yeah. And I knew that song as a kid, like on the radio, but it was in this, he used it like super well in this Scorsese in his part of that movie. And I was like, I'm gonna use that song. And a lot of those shots, I can do like a side-by-side of where I found like ideas from. Carl's jump cut thing, it was based off of like an old French new wave film where it was somebody riding the back of a car and they were jump cutting, but like they kept the camera and the subject still enough that it worked really well. So I was trying to mimic that. There's like a shot from The Last Waltz, like where a guy's talking, then they optically printed it to slow-mo after, like when he turns his head. So I tried to do that with Huff. But I didn't realize and I cranked the camera while I was shooting it, I didn't realize it was gonna affect the exposure. So it stops down like 4 stops. There's so much fucking bullshit in that thing. It's bad enough I'm trying to fucking steal all the shit from the movies I love, but I'm fucking them up at the same time. The hand on top of the lens cut to the other hand, woo, fucking trip on that. Must be from a hip hop video. I wanna say a Soul Submission video maybe.
We just chill.
The way the title's laid out, filled the screen, stole that from like a German movie I saw in film school called The Marriage of Maria Braun. Because at the time I was making videos, or I knew I was gonna make a video, and I'm in film school, so you're like, oh, I like that, like, fuck it. No one's gonna see this movie. I didn't even think of it like that. I didn't think of it like they stole it from someone else, I'm sure, you know? But this video was like another struggle to make. Like everybody was busy with other projects. Bobby was like the driving force. Scott too, a little bit. Mike always just kind of had stuff going. Yeah, I didn't know that. It's fine if Bobby, I don't begrudge anything if he doesn't like the song, that's fine.
She's not playing with the radio. La, 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 la. La, 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 la.
Yeah, I like this song. And it was like the first time where I kind of like lines with the verses, singles with the chorus, yeah. Which has been done before. I mean, fucking, everybody talks about like editing to the beat later in the 90s. Like, dude, Mike Hill did every edit to the beat to the most minuscule detail ever on linear editing in memory screen. It blows anything that anybody's ever done away since. So like, anybody who claims they invented editing to, like, no. Go watch a memory screen. It is so meticulous. Tape to tape editing. I don't even understand how because now you have waveforms. You can see the fucking beat and you can line up the 2 waveforms. Here's the land, here's the beat, and it's so simple. I mean, the FTC video, to me, is like, it's a fucking wannabe world video. Down to like the credits over all the goofy footage at the end. It's very inspired by that. People seem to like it as it aged. RB was a huge part of this video. I think Anthony Claraval might have filmed 1 or 2 things. At that time, I knew a lot of the New York skaters, and I really liked that because they'd come out and stay with Keith. So I knew Peter BC and Chris. I really wanted them to have a part. Ben, I think, might have gotten hurt at that point. Ben was incredible. Like, he was so good. I think all of it. I think Dave Meddy might have filmed 1 trick. At that time, he had a great style. He could skate everything. He was so good, man, and had such a good style. And like, kind of like years later, the way like Austin Gillette, and those guys had this kind of more like good trick selection. It wasn't maybe as powerful because it's just a different time of skateboarding, but like he was, to me, he was kind of like, had power, had finesse, had the right tricks, looked amazing. Rad dude, I really liked him. Yeah, again, dude, so I had this idea, fuck. I wanted to do, I'm sure I saw it somewhere, I just wanted to film him in different locations for each, like I'm cutting up the sentences, I think, each word maybe, but not realizing the audio is gonna sound like shit. I had no idea about audio, and it's just on camera audio. I don't really realize different room tones, and when you're outside it's gonna sound different, but fuck. I guess your mistakes are being like recorded for history back then. The learning curve is like documented, you know?
Hi, how you doing? My name's Ben Liversedge. I used to live in New York, and now I live in San Francisco. I ride for Real, Thunder, and Spitfire.
I didn't edit it.
Oh, you didn't?
No, I didn't do any editing for Wheels for
Wait,
401. I would
must
send
have
it.
told him. He was
I
like,
wanted it to be like this, and they just had. And like back then, I didn't give them any other options. They were probably like Josh Faber was like, God damn, this sucks. I was trying to like, I don't know, push things in my own way at the time, but
will you sign this one for me too?
yeah. On the front.
You're right on the front.
Yeah. You know what's funny is like we cut the intro, and me and Johannes were pretty stoked on it, and we're like Andy Jenkins, like, come look at this, and he watched it. He was like, kind of in a joking way, he was like, I love skateboarding. Like he knew like what we were trying to do. It stood for Free Trade Center. It did stand for that. This was cool. I got to go out and film in the desert. I was kind of just like hanging out. I was filming some like Super 8 and just kind of just being there. This was definitely like a bigger production for Girl. They had like a nice DP and like nice cameras. Again, it was fun for me to watch them, how Spike did all that stuff. I definitely like Keenan's part. Gabriel's part was rad. We were like, it was super like a nice surprise for people, I think, that because Gabriel like was kind of notorious during 101 to have like 1 trick, 3 tricks. So he really like came through. Yeah, Keenan's part was great. Like that song was amazing. All his tricks were good. It was like, he was like really perfecting that short and sweet. Every trick is awesome. You know what? Like he does like I think a switch shove it manual on the table at Los Feliz. I want to say like Eric might have filmed that Costin, even though I'm there. Maybe had to do something. I'm almost positive Eric filmed it. I handed him the camera. I don't know why, and he landed it. I kind of mixed this part up with the mouse part up a little bit. There's a trick I filmed with Keenan that I hope I find it one day. It was a sequence in Slap, I want to say. He switch heeled the 7 out of Barcadero. It was a video grab sequence. It was when he was on Fun. I met him around the Fun times. The girl section is like really amazing in this. That's when guys come, like, Goldfish Guy had like 2 or 3 tricks. Guy, like his tricks in here is like, this is when he's kind of starting his like journey into mouse, I guess you would say, you know what I mean? Like the tricks in here are insane. The switchback tail down fucking rail in Vancouver is, dude, that was other level. And then his stuff at Lockwood, it was like a surprise for a lot of people for mouse maybe, but like I think this was like a little foreshadowing of like what was to come, Guy's stuff in this. Paulo's song, which was a home recording, you edit a video and it sounds one way, but if you're in different rooms projecting it, it's gonna sound different. And it was super low in the mix. He got super pissed on how bad, he was like, Paulo was so into music, he was more like, I think, happy to have a song in the video, and it sounded like shitty because it was a home recording, the audio level was just probably off in the theater, and I think he got like super pissed off or something. Kind of like a Muska toy machine moment in a way, he didn't get kicked off or anything. His part actually is one of my favorite parts of this video. Like all those lines down those streets in Los Feliz. Paulo like lives in Los Feliz, and all his parts are like within like a 10-block radius. He can probably skate to every single spot he skated in all his video parts. And a lot of his part was stereo footage. It's Jason Lee filming, like 6 feet tall, like that's why it's like this high. This is like kind of a little kind of shade, but it's so like long ago, nobody gives a fuck. Chocolate put out an ad of Paulo that looked a lot like a stereo ad. Like Jenkins is like the least malicious dude out there, and probably a little older at the time and not as in tune with what's going on in the rest of skating. And he did a Blue Note ad basically of Paulo for Chocolate. And stereo dudes, or deluxe guys, were kind of like offended by that. He quit stereo for blind, but still, like, there was like a company in between. They kind of like didn't want to give us the footage of Paulo, the old footage. It sounds petty, but at the time it kind of maybe made sense. And dude, Greg Hunt was like, fuck that, people need to see that footage. Greg Hunt went to Deluxe and found those tapes and gave it to us. He was like, dude, that footage has to come out. It's too good. And it wasn't like crazy beef, like, you know, but I think Greg might have stole the tapes from Deluxe. Another story, this dude, feel free to cut this shit out. I'll tell us very quickly. I knew Keenan from SF, that's how I knew him. And then things happened with Fun, he got on Blind. I was down there filming for Girl, and I went to Lockwood. And I hadn't seen him for a while, and I think he was on Blind at this point. And like, we were cool in SF, like we were, you know, hanging out, like he was a cool dude. I'm at Lockwood, he's there with a bunch of people. I think we were already there and he showed up. There was a kind of a group of us, but like he didn't say hi to me, and I was like, damn, this motherfucker's like already like, he's not gonna say hi to me? Like he's already like LA guy now or something. You know how you're insecure at that age? It's like a 30-second lapse in time, and he was like, oh shit, Aaron, I didn't fucking see you there. And I was like, oh. I was like, of course, dude, Keenan's the coolest dude. Like, why the fuck would I, like, you know, when you're left to your own devices, you go like to the most negative storyline you could pick. Yeah. Javante. Would this be considered explicit? Like, would some shops not carry this now? This was like so tame at the time, probably, right? Yeah. I feel like this was like a girl these guys all knew who illustrated this. Like this, like, Javante like got a lot of hot girls, so like it made sense to have this graphic. That's cool, whatever. Yeah, the early Girl was outside of the main logo boards. They were like finding their way for a while for sure. And it was very much just like, here's the tape I want for my song, like here's my brother's painting, here's my friend's drawing. Dude, the Bart Simpson kiss, I was that girl and Mike opened that letter and they got that artwork. And dude, he was so hyped on it. And I've heard people say that's like one of the worst graphics ever. He was like, I'm so hyped on this, I'm gonna wait till Christmas time when sales are higher, because this is one, he's like, this one's gonna go off. Bart Simpson as Gene Simmons, right? Unsolicited artwork, I'm almost positive, from like a fan. And he was like, I'm saving this one for like, I always liked the thin chocolate script. When they switch it to the chunk, I mean, obviously I think the chunk stood the test of time, but I really liked the thin one at the time. Berg, my buddy Tony. Do you want me to talk more about the person or whatever? This artwork is that girl hanging up somewhere, these early Jenkins paintings. These boards come out as good as they can, but like a lot of this artwork that Andy did, like if you see the actual artwork, it's really nice. The application of the artwork at the time is probably pretty primitive. I met Tony actually when he was on Reel, before he got on Plan B. He was always like really likable, funny guy. Like I've traveled a lot with Tony, and yeah, we're still like really good friends to this day. I remember when they were talking about him getting on Plan B. Right before the contest they'd have it in San Francisco, goes back to the cities, and Embarcadero would just get like, the population would triple, you know? So everybody would come to town. He was in town. He was trying like he might have done it like a nose wheelie, turn around the other way to switch manual, to switch heel out. A lot of people were tripping off him. And I think people were trying to get him on Blind, and like somebody was like telling Rick, like, we should get that dude on Plan B. And Rick was like, dude, he's from, like, we didn't know, like Carroll didn't know he was a local dude from Vancouver. Rick's like, that's my friend. Like, yeah, like anytime, like we can get him. This is probably Girl's best video, I think. The vibe and the era that it's from. Yeah, right, it's like made really well, but this is like, I mean, Guy and Eric's part, everybody's part. Sheffy, Keenan's, there's so many classic parts. Rick's part's really good. Yeah, I was around for the mouse skit. That was like the main one I was around. That might have been the only one I was there for, the intro. That was a sick day. Again, like I was just like staying at Rick and Megan's house. We're waking up early tomorrow and we're filming this skit. It's gonna be like Mike in an In-N-Out burger costume and Rick in a mouse costume. No, Rick was like, we're gonna get a mouse costume, but like everybody's gonna wear it and do tricks in it. Dude, nobody showed up. Like it was like super hot out. It was just like, there's a shot of Rick pulling it off. He's like super sweaty. I filmed that shot actually. He was under the impression like, dude, everybody's gonna wear it. It's like, no, dude. He's stuck in it all day. It was just the four of us, Spike, Rick, and Mike. And they just went around and like, it was gold. The stuff they were getting, like the little kid freaking out. Like it was just like run and gun, you know what I mean? We got kicked out of the In-N-Out. It's like the In-N-Out right across from Hollywood High, like right there. I remember we were in front of a Burger King. I don't know if we were trying to do like a pickup shot, and a Burger King person came and kicked us out. And Spike was like, I thought we were in front of In-N-Out. Like, this isn't In-N-Out. Like, we're trying to do an In-N-Out commercial. Like, you know, Little Keenan, I was there for some of the green screen stuff at Little Keenan. Yeah. My friend Johannes, he did that. He's always like, I want to redo it because he's probably learning how to do it back then. He's like, I always want to like remaster it, you know? He's lying down doing, yeah. It's in the credits, yeah. I think I filmed some of that footage. But yeah, this is like a really special time for Girl, I feel like. Guy's part was like incredible. Jerron's part, everybody's part's really good. Keenan's part, obviously, super good. Some of that stuff at Guy was just incredible. I feel like Guy and Eric, it's almost like their parts are like much longer than everybody else's. Everybody else kind of had to catch up to where they were, but it was so pushed by how much stuff they had. York always had a lot of footage. York was always filming. Guys like York, it was like inevitable, you know what I mean? That he was gonna get on Chocolate, because he was on stereo at the time. Keenan kind of was obviously a natural fit. Gino was like always gonna be in the picture. For Gino, it was just a matter of whenever he wanted to do it. But it was such a group thing, but I think they definitely wouldn't have like cleared it with me first or anything, but you know, I mean, if I was around, I would weigh in on it. I think Eric wanted to get Marcus on 4-star at one point, and Carl, I think. I think Carl was on LRG maybe or something. JB almost got on Chocolate. Pep almost got on a couple of times. I think JB got on and then like pushed out. Like, I'll do it, then came back and was like, no, I'm not gonna do it. Because he probably talked to Rodney or somebody. To be honest, the person that I pushed for the most at the time was Robbie McKinley. After the listen video in his blind section, I was like, this guy's perfect. With Girl, especially at that time, it's always such a group thing, you know? I definitely not gonna take like credit for it. I was probably most vocal at that time about him. Like in the Chocolate Tour, he probably was gonna have more footage, but he actually got hurt right away. Lee, I don't know, you know, like I think after like the first round of taking people from World, they kind of like cooled off on it a little bit, you know what I mean? He was on Menace, so he was like, he was fine. It was also like kind of about kind of taking care of people. So he was with the Menace dude, so he like, it wasn't even a thought. And also too, like when those guys quit World to start Girl, there was never any real beef with the skaters. They were always still cool and skating together a lot, especially Guy. I mean, Guy was with Kareem and the Menace guys more than with us for a long time. There was never any beef there. They were always tight. I appreciated that, especially more now looking back. We were friends with Joey, Fabi, you know what I mean? We're all like going out together to clubs and parties and play basketball and skate together. It was never like, whoa. Yeah. Guy probably wears Menace shirts a lot. Skating was so cool at that time too. Mike Carroll would wear a stereo shirt, or you know what I mean? Like it was a more relaxed time because there wasn't as much at stake. So, but like, you know, Scott would go get a girl shirt from FTC. You were stoked to wear like, you know, your friend's shirt, even like a fun Huff shirt or something. This is the one with like all the basketball shit and stuff? Yeah. Yeah, I actually helped make this with Rick. So this is like a super random, that's crazy to have this. There's probably only like 100 of these made, maybe. It's weird, man. Like this is the trade show loop and it like has a lot of footage that would end up in the Chocolate Tour. There was so much footage that got leaked out of Mouse. Like, thank God it was a time where like there was no internet to get that far, but like they put out a trade show promo called The Matinee before Mouse. It had all those skits in it. Like they were like revealing a lot at the time. I remember Ty later on, he was like tripping on how much stuff we would put out for trade shows because Ty is so guarded. He was like the exact opposite. Ty's like not even showing other people on the team, you know what I mean? We're like, come to the trade show. Like, it was all like in an attempt to like increase, like we thought like at the trade show we have to have. Girl quickly became a very video-based company, so like every trade show we would try to put something out. The bench lines, like it's with the puppets, right? And Gino's, yeah, switchtail, nollie cab, not nollie cab, nollie 360. It's actually a pretty cool, I kind of forgot about this. Whoa! Nollie back heel? Yeah. That trick, I think I told Chris this a million times. We came out to New York, probably 97, and we all flew out here. We stayed on Rivington, got a hotel, probably stayed here for like 9 days, and filmed one trick. That trick of Eric, nollie backside heel. First day we got here, he filmed that. It was like amazing, and we gave it to 401 for an opener. Rick came halfway through the trip, and I was like, dude, thank God. Not that Rick was ever like cracking the whip, but like we skated every day, but we just like weren't used to it, you know what I mean? Like the spots were different. Like we'd skate all the way up, like Keith's like, we're skating uptown. We'd get there, we'd be fucking tired. Keith's like, we're ready to skate the spot. We're like, dude, we're used to like being in our car. Like we had so much fun. We were going out every night. Probably 20 minutes or so. I'm not sure, you know. I think Kareem was there. That was like around when Kareem was shooting his spotlight with Hativa here, I think. And we would skate every day, but like we went to Philly for a day or two, maybe. We didn't get shit, man. I don't know if we went to Love. I don't know why we went. We went to FDR. Rick filmed, like shot it with Skin was with us. Rick shot like a tail slide. It was like a contents page for TransWorld. I don't know why, we just couldn't get it going, man. But I was like glad Rick came because I was like, okay, he was here. He like, we're not gonna come back like, dude, we only got one trick. We were having so much fun. Like Guy and Gabriel and those dudes flew out, stayed in the hotel with us, and dude, they barely left the hotel. They were just here fucking raging. I don't think they even went skating with us, maybe one day. Guy was like that. He's like, no, I'm just here to kick it. Guy would tell me like, we'd be at a bar or something in LA. He's like, dude, I think in February I'm gonna start skating. I'm gonna start skating in February. It'd be like November. It's like not even fucking being ironic. Or I think after Chocolate Tour, we were definitely getting a little older. People were partying a little bit more, but he was still like skating for sure. The Chocolate Tour was over. I saw him. He's like, I don't have to screen your calls anymore. He's like, I'll pick up your calls now because the video's done. I was like, cool. But like in a funny way. Like, Guy's a sweetheart. The Chocolate Tour, not the hot chocolate. Goldfish to Paco's a year. Paco to Mouse is like a little bit over a year, and this is like, from Mouse to this is like, I want to say it's like 2 or 3 years. The process was getting a little harder here, you know what I mean? People were a little bit more distracted. Tony Ferguson as the cop was really funny. Even like in person, he pulled over a girl driving by. Like he was like, hey, slow down a little bit, and like she fully pulled over. He's like, all right, go ahead. But Tony was actually like, he wasn't trying to be an actor, but he had like a natural ability to be funny, and he's really good at doing characters and stuff. It's kind of like that Canadian sense of humor. I remember not being into like Eric's masterpiece song, which I think Carroll picked for him. Like, Eric always had a hard time picking songs. I remember being with Mike and Sam Smythe driving around San Francisco and we're listening to Andre Nicotina. We listened to that Crack Raider song. He's like, I'm gonna skate to this song. And I was like, oh, this will work. Yeah, this is cool. Mike always had like I think whether he was filmed for a part or not, he would just hear songs. He'd be like, oh, that could be a good song one day. It was a really fun time of our lives. It was like when I first moved to LA. Yeah. Not the most productive time of our lives. But Stevie like came in and saved the day for sure, and Scott. Yeah. This one feels a little thicker than I remember. They were pretty thin for a while. It was stressful in a different way. It definitely had like. Sorry. Yeah, you should probably check. It was like on my mind a lot. It was one of those things that I learned because we put ourselves in a situation we wanted to have like fresh, new. It was like a little bit less departments, so we had to come up with new ideas a lot. So I had to kind of keep that part of my brain like tuned in. Like if I was looking at magazines, like I would try to adapt it or adopt it to skateboarding. That was on my mind a lot. We had a deadline now. I didn't, video deadlines could always move, but this was like, yeah. And it was the first time I had to like get used to like, could you go out with this person and get stuff? And I have to deal with what comes back. Where before I was the person getting the content on video, I had to like give in to that process of, Reda's gonna go out with somebody and he's gonna get the photos and we have to work with what he gets. I'm not out there to control that. I was very picky. Very picky, and I think I selfishly overthought it as like, this is more of a reflection of myself rather than Skateboarder Magazine. I knew very little about the history of Skateboarder Magazine from the 70s, to be honest. Mike Ballard got me the job and he's older, and I was like, dude, I don't like the name Who's Hot. Why is it called Who's Hot? He's like, dude, that's from the original Skateboard. I was like, ah. Why is it called Focus? That's the original? Like, I didn't know that. I honestly didn't know that because I was just, it's before my time. I respect that lineage. I didn't feel the need to like preserve it necessarily because I didn't know it. There's a ton of stuff, I was picky with the art director. I would sit with the art director all the time. He was probably the most talented person, this guy, Chris Yormrick, on the staff. But I would sit shotgun, and I got the job. And I never worked at a magazine. All of a sudden I was the editor. And Tony Hawk's brother, Steve Hawk, was like kind of like a consultant for the whole publishing group. And one day, like early on, I went to him and I was like, am I allowed to tell the art director what to do? And he was like, yeah, you can do whatever. I was like, all right. And from that point on, I was like, the sensibility of the magazine was already kind of set in place, and he had really good taste, and he's a really talented art director. But he can probably tell you even more that I would sit there like, no, make smaller, bigger. Like the words are too, like I got really good at like catching if like the columns of text didn't line up. So I was like really focused on that stuff a lot. And I'm sure it was like annoying to the people around me, but we had fun too. Mackenzie, Jamie, O'Mealy, Ollie, these were all like my really good friends. It was a cool time. I really enjoyed it, and I liked having the last say. Like, no, I want it this way. Like, I want it like this. And they were all on board. And like a lot of the ideas came from them too, you know what I mean? Like Chris would come with ideas, Jamie, Mackenzie had a lot of ideas. It was fun, like being in control. Yeah, Big Brother was like 3 blocks here. It went Strength, and then we were like in the middle, and then it was Big Brother, and then it was Death Row Records right there. And our building was a skate spot. There was the double set that John Diago had a sequence, and Tim Gavin had I think one of his first blind ads, like a 360 ollie over this little double set. Yeah, it was like the base of our building. At first we were like on like kind of an empty floor. Then when they moved us right into the middle of like ad sales for like all the automotive magazines, we were right in the middle. And then we ended up getting like our own, I had like a huge corner office at one point, because it's a big building, they would like, floors were empty, they just stuffed us in there towards the end, we were in there. We all had our own window offices at one point, it was pretty sick. But actually I liked it when we were closer together. We were in each other's faces a lot, and it made for a good like flow. It was a very group effort though. For sure. O'Mealy brought a lot to it, and then we found Ollie. So this cover, we talked to Spike into doing like I think in this magazine there's like a photo feature of like maybe a lot of old photos that he never published. I think Ballard maybe came up with this idea to shoot like on a seamless wall, because he'd been to photo studios. He's like, there's a photo studio, it's like 4 feet of tranny, and we reached out to Jason Lee's agent to like see if he can do it. We never got a response. This is like when Jason Lee was like way off radar in skateboarding, like 100%. We wanted somebody of that like caliber from that era, so we got Guy. Guy was down to do it. And the idea was just to get him to do a backside ollie, but because of the seamless wall, it looked just like a kick turn. There was no depth to get him off the wall, so we convinced them to do like a kickflip fakie. And I think Jai Tanju and Mike kind of came up with this. I mean, probably Chris Yormick too, with the arrow, just to give it, because you're basically in space if there's nothing there. You have to put something to make it see the curvature, yeah. It was like a really tight tranny. He kind of did the best kickflip he could. I feel like Jamie Owens has video of it because we were filming. Lee Smith was there that day, coincidentally. Yeah, it was cool. And Guy was like not in skating as much, like as much stuff. A Guy was coming out at the time either, so it was really cool to have him on the cover. I'm gonna say he didn't, but I think we probably planned this color to match his pants. You know, it's funny, when Guy's first action shoe came out, I got it, the blue one, and I was like, this is gonna be my chiller shoe, because it seemed kind of thin. It didn't, even though now it's huge. I was like, these are too nice that I'm gonna skate, and I'm just gonna wear these like to hang out in. His first shoe, some of them got kind of wild. I knew a lot of DC guys, and I would get DCs, but when they were, I was like too tame for that stuff. I couldn't get to the more extended versions of them. What's the
table list?
I have no memory of this particular list. We did a lot of lists. Dimitri had this book. It was like an Ego Trips book of lists. They did all these rap lists, and that's where I got the idea to do this. And I even lifted some of the topics straight from that book. They had rappers who got shot. I did skaters who got shot. I haven't looked at a lot of these in a long time, because when I do look at them, I was like pretty proud of them at the time, to be honest. But when I go back and read them, like I cringe a lot, because it's like, you're a younger person, you're just like, God damn. Not that it was personal, but it's like I guess the effect you'd have of like reading a diary or a paper you wrote in school. So in my mind, they're like a little bit better than when I go back and read them. I'm like, oh, this is fucking stupid. I mean, obviously the Keenan one's a special one. Kids nowadays are doing so much shit over tables that it's pretty like shocking. Because of the subject matter, I bet you Mackenzie came up with that particular one. Is this the intro? I don't know. If I read this right now, I'd probably throw this magazine into the sewer right here. To be honest, yeah, I'm gonna ruin your magazine. But like, the hardest part of working on a magazine is having to write the intro page, because you just have to pull it out of your ass. It's fine, you have to write about somebody, or there's like something happened, it gives you like a starting point. But those intros, dude, they're pretty embarrassing. Like I wrote about like skaters and money, like it was like gonna ruin skateboarding, or you know what I mean? Just get on my high horse and write something. I would wait to the last minute to do the intros for sure. It's like homework. You wait to the last minute and just crap it out. I want to say, could that be that might be Reddit's first cover. He was like a handful, but I liked him. I would shut him down a lot. Because he wanted to travel. We had this thing where like we were trying to get away from doing so many travel articles. He's like, I want to go to Japan with Shorty. He's like, no. I was like, you're not going.
That one he went to Italy. In this issue,
yeah, we went to Italy together. He put that together, yeah. And that Zared cover, like that was a big issue for him because he got his Italy article and his cover. I don't think he knew about the cover until it came out. It was a good photo. Like Zared was ripping Switchback Smith, right? It's gnarly. Reddit was cool. He could be a handful, but like I knew how to deal with him. Him and Ballard would blow out here and there. Sometimes like we would let them give photos just to make extra money. Like I let Ben Colin go do a Daniel Haney interview, even though he was on staff. I didn't care, you know what I mean? Like to an extent we would play with it because at that time skateboarding is still fairly small and we're friends with the Big Brother guys. It doesn't affect us if Haney's gonna have an interview in Big Brother and Ben can make an extra $1,000. Or like I think Delgard shot a photo of Greco, backside 5-0 down the Wilshire 16. And Delgard worked for us at the time, Atiba, and then they needed, like Greco needed one more photo for his spotlight. And he really wanted that, you know, so I was just like, yeah, go ahead. We all knew each other. You didn't want to like stand in the way of something if somebody felt that strongly about it. You know? I mean, for the most part, it was very minimal though. It wasn't a lot of that going on. And this has everything to do with like Julian, but, oh, this isn't it. But there's actually a different Antihero article. It looks similar to this. It kind of talks about the history of Antihero. That's like probably one of the best articles I felt like we did. And that was, I think they went to Spain, they wanted to do something with us, and we were like, of course, we'll do anything. But like Ballard was like, we should ask Julian to give us a bunch of old photos too, and have them kind of just write stuff. And at the time I was kind of like, I don't know, but he's like, no, it'll be better if they let's just do an Antihero story rather than a tour trip. And Julian, he was into it. I met him at a contest in Southern California, and he like gave me a box of like all these photos and all these handwritten letters. And of course he's like, I don't know, dude, whatever you want to do, it's probably bullshit, you can throw it all away. You know how Julian is. And dude, it was like the most amazing shit ever. And we just like scanned his writing, ran all these old photos with the new photos they got in Spain. And I think it's probably one of the best articles we ever did. And it has very little to do with myself. This Gino sequence is amazing. This is one of those two, like, you know, when you go on a skate trip or you're trying to get photos, like, the skater basically wants to get one, they're like, I gotta get one photo, and then they're fine. And so for Gino to get this, it was pretty sick. You know what's funny, we flew out there, and like 2 days in, he dyed his hair like platinum blonde. It was like almost like shocking to us, like, whoa, what the fuck like, did he do to his hair? You can pull it off. I was like very guilty of reaching out to my closest friends for the magazine. The girl dudes weren't in the magazines that much, and I had access to them because they were my friends. You have a page missing in a magazine, like I can just call this dude, because I'm friends with him and I can make him do it. Like I can make Mike do like the injury page or something, instead of like, oh, who should I call? Like I don't really know that person. Like I can just call one of my friends, which happened to be like all the girl guys. It made us guilty of showing favoritism to that group of people, you know what I mean? But one time I asked Oliver Bartok, I was like, dude, do we have too much girl shit in our magazine? He was like, no, mate, we don't have enough, or something like that. And I remember like Brian Kingman, I went on an Element trip, and he was like, I want to get more guys in the magazine. Like, I want it to be like how it is with Girl, you know? I mean, he wasn't trying to be a dick, but I was like, damn, dude, it is true. Like, I think when you're young, you just end up going with what you know and who you have access to. Yeah, I found out when I met all the Embarcadero guys, like inside, I was like very happy to be with like the local, like James and Jake Vogel and Carroll, like, yeah, for sure. I've never been a person to approach somebody in that way, you know what I mean? And I still, to this day, like the 80s skaters I grew up with, Tommy Guerrero and those guys, have a deep place in my heart. No, never. I think, I might have beat Huff at a game of skate on a small quarter pipe at the skate lab, maybe, because I knew he could barely skate transition back then. I've only done a kickflip. Yeah.
360 flip.
No 360 flip, no.
Switch flip?
No. You could probably ride across it if you go fast enough. And I made Mike, I was like, Mike, you have to ollie it. Please ollie it like with your hands in your pocket or do something to make it look like nothing. You know what's funny is like that day, I did a wall ride in Chomp And we went, it's like right across the street from Lockwood, that wall ride. I did that ollie, and the cardio was there for like both of them. So it was like, you know what I mean? Got some tricks in front of John's. No, I didn't, that used to be a couch from Rick's office, and it kind of got discarded, and then it got moved to my office. I really like Fabian's Carroll couch because of the stories, the storyteller ones.
I think I could fuck you up, dude. I don't want to fucking knock out motherfucking Marcus. I try to look like that motherfucker back in the day. Rodney Mullen would be driving the van like, hey, are we gonna be okay? Like, one time me and Steven were gonna jump Pupeki. It felt like family. That's what it was. It felt real.
Glad to see you. I had a funny dream and you were wearing fun.
Nah, he's a pussy. We did like a weird collage one for Spike's 40th birthday maybe, and I feel like he might have sat on it for a second. Him and Megan, who they would never do it. Rick wouldn't even do like a top 5, I don't think, like a written out one. Because I think he just feels like, he is kind of a shy person, but he also feels like, he feels like he's putting himself in his own production, or, you know what I mean? I don't know. Not much of a shoe guy. Favorite chill? Clark's. Metallica. Slayer was, I grew up too Catholic. The satanic lyrics were hard for me to reconcile with. Definitely Metallica. Wu-Tang. Nas. San Jose. Hoop earrings and like cool hair. Good switchbacks at 180s. When I first met him, he was a punker, not hip hop or reggae. He was like a punker dude. Shamil Randall, really sick dude. Good skater, but just, he's so laid back that he wasn't gonna push it, you know what I mean? But really talented and looked really, really good. Probably 20 minutes or so. Felt like he kind of sketched it a little bit, and we probably thought it wasn't like as perfect as he wanted it to be. LeVar was insanely good at an age when young kids weren't good at skating. When there wasn't even young kids skating, he truly was good for anybody, not just for a 12-year-old. But he seemed to be 12 years old for like 4 years though, that was the only thing. Megan Baltimore, she makes very good cookies. Kareem is somebody I always, even though I knew him fairly well, like I always held him in very high regard and treated him like, even though he's my age, like kind of like an older like G in the situation, like that's Kareem, you know what I mean? Even though he was super cool and like we were friendly, I thought his 20-shot sequence part is one of the best parts of that era by far, and I would watch that part a lot. That part's amazing, yeah. I think he, I don't want to say he doesn't get enough respect because everybody respects him, but like his contribution to that era was huge. Pep. Pep was cool. Pep was like, you know, when Embarcadero was really going off, we heard about Love, and we heard about DC through like, you know, we knew Scott, and then we saw Pulaski like in some videos, but they're like, it's kind of like, you knew it was kind of like their version of Embarcadero, more or less. And we quickly heard about this dude Pep, probably through Scott and Lance Dawes, like he was the man. And to be honest, at first I was like a little like, I was probably like, nah, Embarcadero is better than Flat. You know what I mean? You kind of get like territorial. I didn't vocalize it probably, but like, I was protective of my guys, kind of, you know. Carroll's better than Pep, like, you know what I mean? But then you get to know me, realize like, oh, this doesn't matter. And he moved to San Francisco like fairly early on, and we hung out a lot, yeah. He lived close to Scott, we would skate a bit. He's the first person I seen do a nollie frontside board slide. And I remember telling him, you gotta do that on a handrail. And then I saw a sequence of Mark Johnson doing it later on. Like, he kind of did it right. He just came in super unassuming, wasn't like, I'm the shit from DC, I'm here just, you know what I mean? He was just like, oh, I like it here, super organic, nice dude. Had a girlfriend, like we would hang out, you know, Scott, we'd all hang out together, go out to eat and stuff. He came back and did like board slide, like fakie, like he kind of came back into skating and again, like kind of progressed some tricks that people weren't doing, like board slide to fakie 5-0. Eastern Exposure videos, maybe Eastern Exposure 2. I remember just, he's wearing like these red Nikes and he does like, I want to say either switch backside flip and a frontside half cap flip, like super good. I remember just like locking in on those two tricks. Squish can, very compromised garbage can. But this the way he'd catch him and stuff. You know what, I'll be honest, Scott and those guys were like, dude, this dude, like we knew who Chris Hall was. Like there's this young kid Pep who's like really good. skates with Chris Hall all the time. And then there was like SKATEpage that came out. It was like the time where like you just film with your friend. He didn't have that much footage. And I was kind of like expecting more, kind of, you know what I mean? I was like, oh yeah, he's really good, but like these guys hyped him up so much. I was hoping to see more. But then by the time the Eastern Exposure came out, you were like, damn, this guy is. Pretty decent. It kind of fits the era of just kind of a rip. I don't, but at the time it probably made sense. You were trying to pair people's personalities with rip-offs.
I love it. That's awesome.
I mean, I don't mind the rip-offs, but after a while, I honestly, like, if it didn't have his name on it, like, I wouldn't even like recognize it. This is the actual one, huh? Is this the one we borrowed? Did we borrow this from you for the show? Yeah, this is awesome. This is the time where like the illustrations were done like really like, as they got later, it kind of became more of like a photo representation of the skaters for all the chocolate boards. But this is a series, right? This is part of a series? I know. But I'm more used to of like the intro graphic for everybody that came later. Yeah. Gold chain. The U.S.-Canadian border is like much stricter than you would imagine. Almost anybody who was black, they would do a little bit more interrogation on, you know what I mean? To the point that like one time we were driving to Canada, all of us in the girl van, and we were like, dude, we put like me and Tony up front. Like let Tony drive, I'll sit shotgun, like chefing everybody, like Jerron, like go hide in the back, dude, because they'd fucking pull you over, dude. Like it sucks to say, but it happened. And we were coming back from staying in Vancouver. We had like it's probably like around the filming for Mouse. You get a declaration card of like, do you want to declare any goods? And you always write no, because there's no reason to say like I bought something, because it's just a jam up at the border. And we're coming through, and dude, I see the dogs like sniffing all over Keenan's shit, like his push cart. The woman's like, did you buy anything while you were in Canada? And he was like, yeah. Bought like this chain. We're just like, God damn it, dude. Like she doesn't care. Like you're not impressing her, dude. Like why are you telling her? Dude, you don't need to tell me you bought new shoes and a chain, dude. It's like, it's Border Patrol. It's not some girl at a club. But he was like that. Like I was around him before and I would hear him talking to girls. They'd be like, so what do you do? He's like, I'm a model. What are you doing up here? I'm like, on a modeling gig. Like, what's your phone? And I'd be like, write his phone number down at the hotel. He's like, this is my agent right here. Just like, he would lie, so, like in a fun way. He wouldn't lie to be like impress you, but like that kind of stuff. The girl for a long time was split between San Francisco people and LA people, but by the late 90s, we all moved to LA. So this is like an era in our lives where we were together all the time. We would go eat breakfast together, skate all day, go have dinner together, go out that night. Like, you know, it'd be like Keenan, Gino, Pupecki, the Menace guys, Mike York, Carroll, Eric. We rolled thick, and it was just that, you know, we're all in our early 20s, just having a lot of fun, and it's sad what eventually happened, but we knew like he was going a little too hard. You know, he had some health issues. When he did pass away, it was a bummer, you know, like people had talked to him a little bit, but it's weird because he's at such a young age where like you're partying hard, but you're still young and vibrant and skating, and he's meeting girls. Like it's not like he was ever destitute or anything, you know. I mean, he was having the time of his life up until a certain point. And then that happened, you know? Yeah. So it's kind of sad, but...
What's your last memory of him?
Honestly, I think the last time I hung out with him maybe was when he did that nollie backside heel flip down the stairs. It's in Skateboard, that O'Mealy shot. It's in, yeah, right. Even up until that point, to be honest, like, it was like, Keenan, you gotta skate, dude. You gotta skate more. Like, I know. And like, that was a moment of like, oh damn, Keenan's like getting shit. It was around the time he switch flipped this triple set. So it was like, oh, he's getting shit. He's like not drinking as much. Like, this is cool. It was right up until that point because we ended up running some of that stuff in the magazine when he passed. Like, as you know, we had coincidentally just shot a few photos. O'Mealy had shot some stuff. Atiba had shot some stuff. But it was, I mean, Sam Smythe, I was that girl and Sam Smythe called me. It was like July 5th. I just got to work. And I just told the other guys, like, hey, I gotta go. Like, I think I just went home, just hung out with my girlfriend at the time, my wife, and hung out with Tim Gavin. We just kind of hung out together, and then I think the next day a lot of us went to Keenan's house to kind of help clean out his room and stuff. It was sad. But one thing about Keenan, this is like a little bit lighter note. Okay, this is a time where like all my friends listen to nothing but hip hop. They're like making fun of me for liking Radiohead and Smashing Pumpkins and stuff. Don't let Aaron listen to the stereo. But Keenan liked a lot of that stuff, and we would bond on like Smashing Pumpkins songs. That's kind of like why I told Ty like he really liked this Smashing Pumpkins song, and I think it's in the video. Perfect. Yeah, I knew Keenan liked it, so like we like let him, like those songs got used for that. A compliment that I often get is like they like the songs and FTC, or it's like about music a lot of times. But dude, when I'm with my friends, nobody like wants to listen to my fucking iPhone. I'm the last, like I don't get to play shit.